Here we are. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Well, it is a bit of a mountain for Team India to climb, but just at the very top, let's put some numbers out there for you. The last 8 T20 internationals that India have chased, they have ended up chasing successfully. And yes, there has also been a 190 plus total in that particular one against the West Indies. So maybe not quite all doom and despair, but from Australia's point of view, certainly the kind of effort that they would have liked in the absence of Finch, Warner and some of their regulars. Matthew Wade set the tone for the innings, the captain for the day, with 58 of just 32 deliveries. Smith found his mojo towards the second half of his innings with 46, and a couple of cameos from Enriquez and from Marcus Stoinis towards the end, taking them to 194 for 5. Come to Michael Vaughan and Zaheer Khan. First reaction, Zaheer, to that total. Yes, it's imposing, but as we were chatting just before the show, the wicket should be encouraging for India to chase that down.
Well, the wicket has definitely been better than what we've seen in the first T20 international. At 6 overs, there were 60, and at 10 over mark there were 91. So from that point of view, I think India will take confidence from the back 10 of the innings, saying that, okay, they had the platform to go in excess of 200, but we've managed to restrict them below 200. And below 200 on these kind of surfaces, any team will, in this format, say, we got a chance. And I think, that's what Indian camp will be looking at. They will fancy their chances to chase down this total. For that, they'll have to really start well and capitalize on that power play.
I think there would be a lot of pluses for Australia, Michael, but the biggest heart they'll take is that they had to deal with a lot of injuries and rested players.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that score. They may have wanted another 15 to 20, but I thought it was a well-constructed innings. Wade at the top with the power and making the most of those first 6 overs. Steve Smith played in a more conventional fashion. I think that's the way that he must play in T20 cricket. I think he'd be very consistent for any team that he plays in if he plays in that way. And then you get your cameos around it from Enriquez and Stoinis towards the end. So I think Australia will be happy with that. The problem is that short side, that short boundary on one side. I think India are never going to be out of this chase because you will have overs where you just kind of target that short side. Those two spinners, the leg spinners, if they can get the combinations right, in terms of left hand, right hand, you're always going to have one batter that's going to be able to target that short side. So I think we're in for a classic. I think we're in for an absolute beauty of a game because I think it will go down to the wire. Even if India lose a couple of wickets at stages, which they will, I think they'll always have a chance of chasing this target because of that short boundary.
We had a brief look, Zaheer, at that innings progression. I think there are some talking points in there because Australia's middle order and Australia's middle section has been a talking point of late. They didn't allow that to drift off, and I think Australia will be pleased about that. They didn't have to go completely berserk, but they didn't lose too many wickets, and they kept the momentum going.
Yes, they have got to a decent total, and the difference in excess of 200, which we're looking at, is thanks to Natarajan, who really stood out from the Indian bowling side. I think he has shown a lot of improvement in this short career. Is adapting to this international setup very well, and that is the exciting part for Indian cricket. He's no longer just the bowler who we've seen in IPL who are just focusing on those Yorkers, but is adapting quickly to using his variations. We saw those off cutters which he has been bowling, mixing it really well, just not being predictable with going for those Yorkers. He got a wicket of a short ball as well today, which was really good. And in the previous game, you've seen him getting the key wicket of Maxwell with the ball coming back into him. So these are very positive signs for the youngster going forward.
Yeah, if you have a look at all those bowling figures, I mean, everyone going close to 10 for Washington Sundar, 4 overs for 16 the previous game, doubled it on this particular occasion. And in that sort of scenario, Michael, to have 4 overs, 2 for 20 is quite incredible. It's not that you've just joined a party where everyone's going at the opposition.
No, I mean, he looks a fantastic find for India. And that's the added value of what you have in India now in the IPL, that you can throw players into an international setup pretty much knowing that they'll be able to cope with the kind of skill levels and the pressure. Because they've delivered in the IPL, the amount of pressure that these players are under in that tournament, stands them in great stead for playing international cricket. And he's got the skills. He's obviously got the mind as well. I think he looks like he's a real good thinking bowler. I just like his variations. And I love that stat that Adam Gilchrist read out on commentary about the Yorkers that he bowled in the IPL. So much ahead of any of the other bowlers. And a reminder to us all that the Yorker, I still always say, and I know it's always deemed a little bit like an old school thought that the Yorker's the ball to go to, but the Yorker is the ball to go to in T20 cricket if you bowl it correctly. It's not the ball to go to if you get it wrong or you miss your lengths by 6 or 7 inches or you bowl your full tosses. But if you can get that Yorker right, and I think his action, again, they've been talking about it on commentary, it does look like an action that's quite difficult to pick up as a batter, the quick arm speed and those variations of those cutters look really difficult to pick from the hand. So I think he's going to be around, particularly white ball cricket, for a while for the Indian team.
Let's get our own left-arm seamer into this. Yes, as Michael Vaughan said, Yorker's important. We saw the wicket of Mitchell Starc in the previous game. But what he's also done well is he's played the conditions and he's got wickets with a short ball. He's got wickets with a length delivery as well at the right time.
That's the encouraging part. At this level, with the technology around, all the batters are trying to stay ahead of you. How you're thinking, your thinking also gets decoded very quickly and fast. So that is something, which as a bowler you have to stay ahead of, and that is something which I've seen from him, which is the encouraging part with regard to his variations and how quickly he adapted. Certainly, he's got a difficult role to play. It's not easy for a bowler to start at this level with doing the tough job. I think he's doing the tough job for the team, which is bowling those back-end overs when the batters are going to come hard at you, and he's looking comfortable and clear in his thinking. So that is the good sign for him and the team going forward.
Michael, we briefly discussed the dropped catches from Team India. Looking at it from a completely neutral perspective, you've got a smile on your face. Should we make it into a bit of an issue or should we let it pass?
It's the game. But if you want to be the best team in the world and you want to win World Cups, you can't obviously allow such simple drop catches to go down on such a regular occurrence, which we're finding with the Indian side. I don't know. It's been a strange year for cricket, strange year for everyone. So we can't be too critical of every now and again the standards just slightly dropping. But for India to win a World Cup in a year's time, they won't be wanting to drop the simple catches. Virat Kohli's a genius. He drops the ball and runs the batter out anyway. So it never seems to affect Virat Kohli. But I think Ravi Shastri in the management and that backroom team, they'll know there's a bit of work to be done with the fielders.
But yeah, sometimes you've got to just smile and take it on your chin, Zahid. I mean, Kohli can take the joke on himself. He dropped the catch. He was not one to be flinging his cap down. He smiled at everyone and said, that was a little silly from me, but I got the run out. So, let's put it aside. I'm just trying to imagine somebody else dropping a dolly like that, Zahid.
Well, you often speak about catches wins you matches. And, that is something which you have to live by. You have to make that extra effort of making sure the things which are in your control, you spend enough time as a group. I guess it has to be a culture which is developing, and not just this series. I think if you go past few series, it has been happening, and something which is becoming a concern now going forward. And Michael rightly put it that if you want to win the World Cups, you don't want that one catch, or if you're talking about the bowlers, bowling those no balls. Really, costing you games because you've seen, particularly in this format, the margins are very small, and you have to make sure that you're covering all the bases when you're talking about a tournament like World Cup.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it's something that happens. You put it aside, and obviously they have to now get into that dressing room, get into the huddle, and focus on the task ahead. Now, let's maybe have a quick look at the Indian batting lineup and just see in terms of the possible changes that we've had. We've got Shreyas Iyer back in the mix. It's his birthday, a chance to sort of wipe that cake off and get a few runs on the board. So the one thing's for sure, all the way down to Washington Sundar, they don't want to look too far down. The top order has to do it, Michael. They need to get that Matthew Wade type of start.
Yeah, and I think they have to really target these first 6 overs clearly and come out of the traps with a real fast start. It'll take an individual to get a decent score, 75 plus, and you feel that if one of those top 3 batsmen stick their hand up to get that kind of individual score, India are going to get very close to winning this game. The pitch looks good. The boundary size, one side looks a little flick. And obviously the other side, you hit into the pockets, there'll be plenty of twos once the field is spread. So I think if India have the right mindset and are really aggressive in their running between the wickets, they should get very close to this target. But on the other foot, this ground, Australia know how to defend it. They've got good kind of variations in the bowling attack. Moses on reach is a key component to this T20 game. He obviously captains the sixers on this venue, so he'll know the kind of areas where you should be bowling and the kind of parts of the ground that you can protect. So I think we're in for an absolute classic.
Yeah, looking at the Australian team on the other side of it, a few changes. Remember, we pointed out about Cummins, Stark missing, but they do have, the one thing they do have, made changes or not, Zahir, is lots of options. And I think India will once again have to remind themselves, 7 bowling options for Australia. India could have found a replacement for Chahal on a day like today, maybe.
I think the absence of Josh Hazlewood for surely going to be missed by Australian bowling unit for sure. You know, there's one bowler who has been consistently putting pressure on the top order of Indian team. So they will be happy to walk in at the moment, knowing that there is no Josh bowling in those first 6 overs, and really capitalize on those first 6 overs. And that is going to be the game. I think they have to get in excess of somewhere around 50 plus. Is going to be very crucial at 10 over mark. If they are around between 80 and 90 runs, they will back themselves to get these runs. Another thing is 2 leggies. You know, so that is something which Indian batting lineup has to work out a strategy around it. Maybe won't be a bad option just to get a left-hander to put pressure on those leggies in the middle overs. Tactically can work, but we'll have to wait and see how the think tank of Indian team is working.
But remember, it's the think tank to the Indian team for the T20Is. We've got an Indian team already out there on the park getting set for the Test series. Yes, there's no rest for the wicked. The likes of Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara, Ravichandran Ashwin, they're all out there in the midst of it all playing against Australia A in the practice game. Now, it's an official first-class game, remember. It's no messing around. It's not just a practice game with 15 aside, having a bit of fun. 237 for 8 at the end of 90 overs. And I think the encouraging side for India, Australia playing with a serious amount of fast bowling there, 108 of 228 from Rahane and 140 deliveries for Pujara. So never mind the scores, never mind the outcome, Michael. The number of balls out there in the middle, that is what you're looking for. That's the preparation that you want going ahead to that first test.
Yeah, and really good to see Australia putting a really strong team out. That's what's required when an overseas team needs good practice. You need to be playing against high-class teams, which is good to see. Two senior players in the Indian Test team with runs, which is good, but 2 younger players at the top of the order in Prithvi Shaw and Shubman Gill were both out for naught. So an opportunity lost for the youngsters, but you know, Pujara, he loves batting in Australia. He's the wall, isn't he? Once he arrives in Australia, he knows how to bat the conditions. And Australia will be scratching their head, working out something of somehow to try and get into the mind of Pujara, because last time they were there, he was just the rock of the Indian batting lineup. So, good to see him getting a few runs, a bit of time in the middle. Exactly the right preparation that you need going into a tough test match series.
Yeah, over 500 runs for CP the last time around. Rahane too. That's good news for India in that middle order. The probably tested him out a little bit with the short stuff, Zahir. He has got out like that in the past. But I think the runs on the board, the balls, the time spent out there is invaluable.
That will be the case in this test series for sure, isn't it? You've seen many touring team going to Australia, and bounce is something which they have to tackle with. And that has been one of the key strategies from Australian bowlers to test the batters out with that extra bit of bounce. And Ajinkya Rahane has toured Australia in the past, so that is something which he will be aware of. And it's good to see him get that 100. His overseas record is tremendous, and Indian team will surely be hoping, particularly when they know that Virat is going to fly back after that first test. So someone needs to take that responsibility, and Ajinkya will be looking to grab that number 4 spot in his absence for sure.
Yes, certainly will. And of course, there's going to be a situation where the bowlers get into it, not with bat in hand. Umesh got 24 of 18, but he'll be looking at what he does with the ball. And I think we'll talk about that possibly during our session in the next T20 international. But once again, we fell short between three of us on our My 11 Circle Badge of Honor. We thought we had cracked it this time around, Michael. We have spanned between 157 to 172. Australia with a new look side. Would they be able to match up to what their senior side, as it were, with the likes of Finch and Warner would do? But they actually outdid them. So we'll have to do it all over again with Team India in 6 overs.
Yeah, I think they'll come out quickly. I'm going to go for 59.
So that's pretty much exact. Is that exactly how much Australia scored in their 6 overs?
60.
That is it.
60 or 61.
Yeah, they made 59. 59 is exactly what they did. So run for run is what Michael Vaughan expects India to match Australia. So there you have it, Matthew Wade type of start from Team India. But of course, they more than have the credentials at the top of the order. Zahir, higher or lower?
Touch lower. I'll say 55. Indians will approach this inning in a little conservative manner than being overly aggressive. I think they will give importance to keeping wickets in hand as well.
You've left nothing in that gap. Absolutely nothing in that gap. Last time around, I didn't take the bait, and this time you've just left me nothing to squeeze in between. It'll kill it if I were to squeeze in between. So I'll go a little bit lower, as you said, conservative start, and then push on after that 6th over. So 50, even 50. For Team India as far as 6 overs are concerned in the power play. But it's a big total to chase. Gentlemen, just to finish with, key player for you, Michael Vaughan. We keep talking about Virat Kohli, but this is the kind of total. It cannot be a Lone Ranger effort, can it?
No, it'll take more than one individual, but Virat with the chase, he's the greatest chaser in the one-day arena, whether it's 50 overs or 20 overs. So I would say that Virat needs to get a nice number by his name.
Yeah. Well, he's got the inspiration to try and fix a few records, Zahir, but we've seen KL Rahul outdo him in the previous game. We've got a few other hitters, someone like Sanju Samson to pick up and accelerate things. But is it again all revolving around Virat?
Well, when you're chasing this kind of a total, you need your top 3 to fire. And one of them to really go big, and for Indian team to have that solid platform, I'll back KL Rahul. I think if he's able to do that today, and get turn his 50 into a big score, then that is something which Indian team will be looking to see from him.
Yes, interesting. We haven't mentioned some of the other names in there. Gabbar is very much going to be part of that top 6. First 6 overs rather, to try and accelerate at the top, Shikhar Dhawan. And I have a sneaking feeling a certain Mr. Hardik Pandya will be padded up and ready to come in at some point should they decide to jiggle around with the batting order to get a move on. But all that we'll only be able to assess at the 10th over. Will birthday boy Shreyas Iyer contribute to this effort as well? So plenty of options for Team India. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, Zahir. We'll see you in the 10th over for Cricbuzz Combox, and then wrap everything up on a Super Sunday for Team India. Can they make it a Super Duper Sunday and wrap up the series and make it 2-0? We'll see you in 10 overs time. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.